You know, some movies make a ton of money. A few might even win some big awards. But every once in a while, a film comes along that does something else entirely. It changes everything that comes after it. Today, we're diving into how one movie didn't just become a hit, it literally created the blueprint for the entire entertainment industry as we know it. Let's talk about how Star Wars rebuilt Hollywood from the ground up.
And right from the very beginning, it was obvious this thing was different. This quote from a 1977 Time magazine review just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captured the film's secret weapon. See, Star Wars wasn't just another sci-fi flick. It was an open invitation for absolutely everyone, no matter how old you were, to feel that sense of childhood wonder again.
And it all kicked off on this one day, May 25th, 1977. Now, saying it changed movies forever, yeah, that sounds like a huge exaggeration, right? But it's really not. To get the sheer scale of the impact, you have to picture the world it landed in. This was a Hollywood that looked completely different from the one we see today.
To really understand the explosion that was Star Wars, you got to understand the 1970s. This was the golden age of gritty, cynical, adult dramas. Movies were dark. And then, out of nowhere, comes this. Star Wars was something else entirely. It was this huge cultural unifier that got everyone, from kids to grandparents, sitting together in the exact same theater.
Yeah, before 1977, movie theaters were often these grand, beautiful palaces. And the films they showed? They were complex, often pretty dark stories about real human conflict and irony. We're talking about movies like The Godfather or Chinatown. It was just a totally different kind of storytelling.
So, how did one movie just flip all of that on its head? Well, first off, it didn't just sell tickets. It completely rewrote the rulebook for how movies were made and sold. This, right here, is the moment the modern blockbuster was truly born.
And just like that, Hollywood did a complete 180. The focus shifted away from those deep, personal, director-driven films of the early 70s and went all in on these sprawling, special effects-heavy adventures. Suddenly, the potential for a franchise, that became the new Holy Grail.
But hey, to build these incredible new adventures, you needed brand new tools. George Lucas didn't just direct a movie, he built a whole engine for innovation. His company, Industrial Light and Magic, you know it as ILM, literally invented the techniques that would define blockbusters for the next 40 years. We're talking motion control cameras, next-level practical effects. He even created a new gold standard for movie audio with THX sound. Oh, and he masterfully blended genres, a little sci-fi, a little western, a dash of a war film. It is something no one had ever seen before.
And all of this came together to create a brand new business model. Along with the movie Jaws a couple of years earlier, Star Wars absolutely cemented the idea of the summer blockbuster. Before this, believe it or not, summer was a slow season for movies. Now, it was the main event, a whole strategy built around a massive marketing blitz for a massive opening weekend.
But what about the story itself? What made it feel so classic, so timeless? Well, Lucas was really smart. He intentionally structured his film around Joseph Campbell's idea of the monomyth, what we call the hero's journey. It's this ancient universal story pattern, the call to adventure, finding a mentor, the hero's ultimate return. And it's a massive reason why the story clicks with so many people across so many cultures. It feels familiar because, in a way, it's a story we've been telling each other forever.
Okay, so changing the entire art of filmmaking wasn't enough for this movie. Star Wars also created a second, gigantic ripple effect, and it all started with what is, quite possibly, the single smartest business deal in the history of Hollywood. Seriously, this might just be it, because what George Lucas pulled off next wasn't just clever. It completely redefined how much a movie's world could be worth long after you left the theater.
So the deal started right here. Lucas made a huge bet on himself. He told 20th Century Fox he'd take a $500,000 pay cut from his directing fee. And of course, the studio jumped at the chance to save some cash on what they thought was just a risky little sci-fi movie.
And this is what he got in return. The rights to any sequels and this is the game-changing part, all of the merchandise. You have to remember, back then, movie-themed toys were a total afterthought. They were just cheap novelties that vanished the second the film left theaters. The studio thought these rights were basically worthless.
Boy, were they wrong. Lucas's gamble paid off on a scale that's almost impossible to wrap your head around. That worthless little deal became the foundation of a media franchise that is now valued at over $68 billion. After this, studios never, ever looked at toys and t-shirts the same way again. A movie could now be the engine for a massive commercial empire.
So, the film changed how movies were made and how they made money. But the impact didn't just stop at the studio gates. Oh no, it spilled out everywhere, completely soaking into our culture and becoming a part of our shared reality.
I mean, just think about it. How many of these phrases have you heard, or maybe even used yourself? They've become part of our everyday language, a kind of cultural shorthand that basically everyone understands. That's the sign of a seriously deep cultural footprint.
You know what another sure sign that you've really made it is? You become a go-to target for parody. From Spaceballs all the way to Family Guy, Star Wars has been lovingly made fun of for decades. And that's really a testament to just how iconic and recognizable its world is.
This influence even reached the highest levels of global politics. When President Reagan's administration was developing its controversial missile defense system, what did everyone in the media and the public nickname it? Star Wars. And Reagan himself even borrowed a phrase straight from the movie to describe the Soviet Union. It's wild.
And if you want the ultimate proof of just how deeply this movie fused with our culture, get this. In the 2001 census for England and Wales, nearly 400,000 people wrote down their religion as Jedi. The ideas in the film were so powerful, they actually inspired a real-world spiritual movement, Jediism.
So where does all of this leave us today? Well, the Star Wars model isn't just some historical fun fact. It is, without a doubt, the dominant playbook for almost every major entertainment franchise in the 21st century.
You can literally trace a straight line. The model that was created in 1977 became Hollywood's go-to strategy all through the 80s. Fast forward a few decades and you see Disney paying billions of dollars to buy up Marvel and, eventually, Lucasfilm itself, all to supercharge this franchise-first approach and create the massive, interconnected universes we have today.
And at the end of the day, it all leads right here to our modern entertainment landscape. These sprawling, interconnected universes that jump from movies to streaming shows to video games to merchandise, all of it is built directly on the foundation that Star Wars laid down all those years ago. Which really leaves us with one last question to chew on. The legacy of Star Wars is this incredible mix of creative world-building on one hand and revolutionary business strategy on the other. As that model continues to dominate everything, you gotta ask, are we actually getting richer, more immersive stories, or are we just getting more sophisticated marketing plans? Definitely something to think about.